You mentioned Chaka, and one of the things I was trying to look at chronologically, because I know one of the tracks that's on the 3 CD set is it also on the vinyl, is What You Gonna Do For Me?
Oh yeah.
Now, I couldn't figure out, so please let me know how this happened. So there are two, there's the What You Gonna Do For Me AWB, and there's What You Gonna Do For Me Chaka Khan. So I assume since you all wrote it, you did it first.
Yeah, we did. But the Chaka's a part player in that as well. There's the next collaboration with Ned. We wrote one song, I Love You Row, and then it took us 5 years before we wrote another one. So obviously we weren't too interested.
Well, it's prolific. It wasn't as prolific.
Yeah, it wasn't
okay, prolific. Yeah,
right. Maybe we just weren't greedy enough. Yeah, prolific. That's it. Yes. So Ned and I had written the song, and I took it into the guys. And Chaka and our manager Jack Nelson just happened to be around at the time, because I wanted to play guitar on the song because I wanted to be on the studio floor, but I didn't want to sing it. So Chaka originally sang it.
Really?
When we cut the track.
Okay.
Yeah, and her manager Jack loved the song. Our version came out in 1980.
Okay.
And in October 81, I think it was maybe in October 80, we went to Montreux with Arif and Chaka, Steve, myself, Anthony Jackson, and Larry Williams, and David Williams on the other guitar. So we went to Switzerland to record Chaka's next album. We just wanted to get out. Arif wanted to get out of New York and somewhere
in a different environment. Yeah.
And we, Jack and Arif wanted to cut What You Gonna Do For Me, so we messed around with it and got it right. Okay. I think we missed. I always felt we missed it when we cut it with the white band, but really? the version that we cut with Chaka, the groove was so much more right for the song, and it's what I envisioned when I wrote the song with Ned. I played it on piano, so the bass line was always bam, 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 bam. It was always really a little harder than the way we hit it, and Anthony really nailed it, and Steve played.
Ferociously.
Yes. Ferocious Ferroni.
There you go. You can tell him I said that.
I can tell him. I'll tell him, and he'll be very pleased that you said that.
Yeah.
And David Williams and myself on guitars. You know, David. I really clicked with David. We got on great, and he was wonderful. He was great. So we got a really burning track on that.
Yeah. And how now? Obviously, you mentioned earlier about a collaboration with Benny King, and so while it wasn't, I guess you couldn't say a collaboration with Chaka. Well, it was a collaboration as much as you were in the studio with her, and not in a formal, like, wasn't like Chaka Khan and AWB as with the Benny King and so on. Obviously, they're completely different artists from different eras.
Yeah.
And I know I was reading up a little bit about how your experiences of working with Benny King was like. Wow, like this is somebody you've been listening to, or you like an idol, like somebody that you listened to as a young person.
Yes.
Were you intimidated working with him?
No, he was such a sweet guy. Yeah. Just like he was just happy to be working with us.
Right.
You know, It's like, and it was a great project. It was only supposed to be a single.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really? Yeah.
Jerry Greenberg, who was the VP at Atlantic at that time, had the song "Star in the Ghetto," and he wanted us to back Benny on it. We said,
"No problem."
Okay, when do we start? You know, so we cut that, and I said, "Okay, we need a B-side." I can't remember what we cut as the B-side, and we were in the middle of cutting an album of our own, which was become Warmer Communications, and we kind of stalled on it a bit, and it was like working with Benny was like kind of shot in the arm, and it got us out of ourselves. And we cut these 2 songs, and then we said, what's the point in doing this? Let's just keep going.
Wow.
So people started suggesting songs. Jerry suggested that Foreigner song, Fool for You Anyway, which was perfect for Benny. And Alan's song, Keeping It to Myself, was perfect again. Perfect casting. And I suggested Someday We'll All Be Free, because like Donnie was, you know, and I loved the song. And everybody suggested something, and it was, let's do Ned's song, Get Out for Love, you know. And that was the first single off the album. But it was one of those albums. It was great. It's like, okay, backing vocals. Let's get Luther, you know, because Luther didn't have a deal at that point either, and we knew of him, and he came in with his girls, and we just had a blast with Alec Lidgerwood, another Glaswegian who was a friend who was singing with Santana at the time. He came in, and Alan and myself and Luther and the girls, we did all these backing vocals, and we just had a blast 3 weeks making that record.
Wow.
It was a wonderful time.
Yes. Well, you mentioned Luther. It's funny is one of my memories of seeing AWB in New York, because to kind of give a little context to it, I lived on West 56th Street in New York, and Luther lived in the next building. Yeah. And how we found out that we were neighbors, I'd done an interview with him at Atlantic, with the publicist's name was Simo Doe.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember her?
Yeah, yeah.
She was somewhat grand.
Yeah.
And anyway, so she said, we've got this new group on Cotillion called Luther.
Cotillion. That was the first album.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
And you know, come to an interview. So I would interview everybody because I was writing for Blues and Soul at the time. So I was wrote for I would do anybody, any interview. Okay, so anyway, the bottom line is we did this interview, and then one day I was walking down the street I lived on, and I saw Luther. He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I live here." He said, "Well, I live in that building." I said, "Really?" Well, anyway. So the bottom line is, in that time period, as you said, he didn't have a deal. This was like 1970. Yeah. I think it was about like 1976, 77. Yeah. And he. So we just. We didn't hang out a lot together. I would see him at different things. I remember seeing him at a chic rehearsal session. We was with Niall and Bernard and Norma Jean. Anyway, the bottom line is, when he did get his deal with Epic, I think it was it maybe not even then. No, it might not have. It was before. It still had the group. He still had the Luther group. Yeah. And I saw at Radio City Music Hall Marvin Gaye, AWB, and opening Group Luther. Yeah.
We wanted to be on that bill so bad. Well, we'd gotten to know Marvin at that time. He said, "You need an opening act." I said, "Yeah, great." Wow. And then Luther as well, because we Arif too really championed Luther at Atlantic, and finally Cotillion Henry at Cotillion. Yeah. Took him
Henry Allen. Yeah. Wow. So that's one of my memories of AWB. Not a bad place to play. Average white band at Radio City Music Hall. Yeah. You know, Marvin Gaye, and at that time, no one really knew who Luther was, or the group Luther was. They didn't know who Luther Vandross, or the general public didn't anyway. Yeah. So it's quite amazing too. So one of the things I want to say, Hamish, it sounds like you've been you've been at the forefront of being around some of the greatest producers, Reef Martin, artists before they even became really well known, and just really been a part of I guess I would say soul music culture and history. Even though I know your music was enjoyed by people outside of the quote soul music realm. And I just wonder how when you, especially with the release of this, with these 3 CDs and the 2 LPs. I mean, when you look at that whole trajectory of of the average white band being really a part of quote soul music R&B history, I mean, what do you think? Do you have thoughts about it?
I'm just.
Do you keep shaking your head like this? Do you SMH a lot?
I'm just overjoyed that
We
were part of that,
Yeah.
and that we were accepted so
Yes.
willingly,
Yes.
right across the board. You know, we'd get these people that we'd been listening to for years coming in and like wanting to talk to us and work with us, and it was just.
I mean, I'm going to ask, and I know, I'm sure you've probably been asked this question a million times. The name. I mean, I know I read 2 accounts of how the name came about. Is it Bunny Brownlet, or is it the person who when the Glasgow? What was it? The Glasgow. What you said?
The Glasgow Guitars.
Yeah.
No,
it wasn't there. Okay.
it wasn't Bunny Bramlett.
It wasn't. So that we can now demystify that.
No.
Not true.
And there's another 2 more stories.
Oh, okay.
There's a guy called Rab Wiper who was went to art college with Molly, Roger, and Alan in Dundee, who went off and joined the Foreign Service. He took the Foreign Service exam, and he went and he was in Kampala, the fall of Kampala, and all that kind of stuff. He lives in Brazil now. Great guy, Rab Wiper. And the story was that if Rab really thought something was extra special, it was too much for the average white man.
Okay.
So Rab was always credited with it, but I was up in Dundee playing a couple of years ago, and a guy that had been to school with him came up and said, you know, it wasn't really Rab. The real story is that Rab shared a flat with Molly Duncan and I think maybe Jim Mullen as well, and there were 2 gay guys that shared the flat down below, and they had a saying that if something was great, it was too much for the average white girl.
Okay.
So that's he said, it's not Rab, it was the 2 gay guys that lived below them.
That is hysterical, man. That's kind of like, that's almost like, when I say unbelievable, I mean, it is believable because clearly it's true.
It's a third
but
degree.
it's just like, you would never thunk that. Really. Yeah, that is, thank you. That was really, I don't know if that's an exclusive, but it's certainly amazing to have found out the real origins of it. So, like jumping off, kind of riffing on that, when you first started to, make the records and be successful and have the hits, pick up the pieces, cut the cake, and so on, obviously the name helped. I'm assuming, or did it?
What?
Or did it hinder? Was it a hindrance?
I think I really don't know.
Okay.
All I know is that when the promotional copies went out, Wexler sent them out, white labels, no photographs, just AWB.
Really?
So that's why the first album was called AWB, and the logo really came into play at that point. An average white band was kind of in the small print,
Really?
as it were. Because Wexler's, Papa Wexler, his strategy was that he really thought it would break through black radio.
Yeah, which was
Which it
correct.
did. He was proved,
Yeah.
He knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to, I guess he didn't want to prejudice it in any way. Not that
No, I get it.
Not that it did, because when the albums went out, the photograph was on the back, you know.
Yeah.
It was obvious that we were white. but
Yes.
you know, it's...
Well, let me ask you 2 things about that, because we're going to wind down in a moment. I'm going to ask you 2 particular questions related to that. So, as you mentioned, I did not know about that was the genesis of how the cover came about. So you know that Berry Gordy did the same thing with Tina Marie. So Tina Marie's first album, called Wild and Peaceful, has no photograph of Tina Marie on it, for the same following the same rationale, because they didn't want to promote it as a white girl singing
soul music.
On Motown, exactly. So obviously it does work. It did work. So then when audiences did see you, and particularly African American audiences, did you get a lot of like, wow, these guys, that people couldn't believe that an average white band could be so funky?
Well, I think the penny, by the time it got to where we were doing arenas and filling arenas, the penny had dropped.
Right.
But going further back, when we were promoting the first album and touring, opening for B.B. King, we played the Kennedy Center in D.C. and Washington D.C. The audience was predominantly African American, and we did our 45, and they loved us. There was like a standing ovation for the opening act, you know, and we came off the stage like, oh, they really liked that, didn't they?
Yeah.
We must be doing something right.
Yeah.
We must have got it right. So,
and did you ever have any, as last question, did you ever have any reverse response, like, you know, who these white guys think they are?
Never.
Really?
Never got any negative reaction at all directly. I think the only, I heard Ras Unruh and Kirk made a couple of derogatory comments, but that was the only one. James Brown put out something called Picking Up the Pieces One More Time by the Above Average Black Band.
Yeah, I did read about that. Yeah.
But there was no kind of...
It wasn't over. It wasn't like that. Yeah.
No, he got it. He got that we loved what he did. You know, I met him years later, like late 70s, and he, okay.
Well,
Mr. Brown.
Yes. Well, we'll have to trade stories one day, Hamish, because I also have a funny James Brown story, but it involves getting a phone call out of nowhere, being told, "Hello, is this David Nathan, Blues and Soul?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles." And he said, and the woman said, "Hold for Mr. Brown." She didn't tell me which Mr. Brown. I don't know who this Mr. Brown is. And I said, "Okay." And the next thing, it's actually James Brown talking a mile a minute. Is it okay? Are you writing this down? I'm like, I'm totally not ready for an interview. I didn't say that to him. I'm like, "Okay, yes, Mr. Brown." And then he said, "Okay, bye." That was it. That's the interview. I had to somehow turn that into anyway. So I'm sure we have many. You and I probably would have many stories about our. We've already touched upon some people that we both, you know, had the opportunity to know and in different ways work with. So I'm sure. Are you ever going to write a book?
I just don't. A few people have said to me, "You should write a book," and I go, "Who the hell would want to read it?"
Well, I guess the same people who are going to buy the music. Well, it's more because I think who would want to read it? The people who really want to know about what that was like. You know, the things we've talked about in this conversation. Yeah, what was that like?
I've written a few things, but it's like it's all a bit daunting, you know.
Okay, all right.
But it's great to once you start going.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and that happened. Wow. And,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, really, it's just really great to speak to you and to catch up, and just really, I love that you're still making music, that you're still out there. By the way, I meant to ask, are you on tour? Are you on tour? Or about to be anytime soon?
I'm doing a couple of dates.
Okay.
In July. I've got nothing on till then, and I'm going to do middle of July. I'm going to do a thing in Hyde Park on the smaller stage with the Cuban Brothers. I did a guest thing with them where I come on and do 2 or 3 songs, which is great. No pressure. The show's happening.
Exactly.
And it's all,
you have to do it exactly.
Just come on,
just show up and do your thing and bye.
But I'm going to do a couple of things in July, at the end of July. Then I'm off to do Ringo's All Stars in August. Wow. And then I'm hoping to later in the year do some shows with Molly and Steve with that band.
Yes.
Which is
the one question I didn't ask, I
special.
thought that was the last one, but I do have one question because it's kind of like a business related question, and I think it's important. The fact is, you own your own masters.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know if that was even conceivable back when those records were being made.
No, I don't know. I think we might have been the first to actually get it to happen.
Wow.
Which is
it's been fortuitous.
It's great. Yeah.
Yes.
Really. We didn't realise at the time how much it meant, but it's been great because we can control what happens with it. And Demon was saying to Debbie earlier, Demon have done such a great job with it. They really, they've done it with a lot of class, I think.
Well, brilliant.
And there's
All
some more projects
More coming.
in the works. Yeah.
All right then. All right, Hamish, well, thank you so much. And it's a pleasure
Nice
speaking to you today and catching up on memories.
Great to reminisce.
Absolutely.
Somebody who understands.
Okay, thanks.